More drama in Formula One, and for FOM, Liberty Media, Bernie Ecclestone and Lewis Hamilton, the 2008 championship is under threat. Felipe Massa has now submitted a lawsuit against Formula One for the events that happened in 2008. Now, what actually did happen in 2008? In 2008, there was a situation which is widely known as Crashgate. Nelson Piquet Jr. had a spin in Singapore, which led to a free pit stop, a safety car and a free pit stop for Fernando Alonso. This eventually led to Fernando Alonso winning the race. Now, Felipe Massa is claiming that this result impacted his chances at the title, and that eventually, he deserves compensation, whether that be in a financial package or to be named the 2008 World Champion, taking away Lewis Hamilton's first ever World Championship. Now, shall we get a little bit more into it? What we're going to do is I'm going to read the statement to you off my phone on the left-hand side. I'll put it up on screen too, so you can read it as I'm going through it. And let me know your thoughts down in the comments about this. I think it's a bit bogus, but we'll get into that in a moment. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below or in this top corner up here. We're trying to hit 300 subscribers by the end of April, and I know that you can help me do it by hitting that red button down below. I'll let you now get back to the video. So, Felipe Massa has officially sued the FIA, F1 and Bernie Ecclestone for the 2008 World Championship. The former Formula One driver continues its litigation for the result of the season that crowned Lewis Hamilton champion, succeeding after Nelson Piquet Jr.'s intentional crash in 2008 Singapore GP. According to Lauro Jardim's blog, O Global, Massa would be demanding in the two actions an indemnity that can range between 64 to 150 million pounds. Also, for the FIA to assume that it has violated its own regulations for not investigating Piquet Jr.'s crash, claiming that if they had done so during the season, the Brazilian would have been crowned champion. And then here is what Massa's had to say himself. I always said that I would fight until the end. As the FIA and FOM decided not to do anything, we will seek the correction of this historical injustice in the courts. The matter is now with lawyers. They are fully authorised to do whatever is necessary for the justice in the sport to be done, claimed Felipe Massa. Now, let's get on to it. In Singapore, despite the fact of the intentional crash, which, don't get me wrong, is widely wrong, I do not agree with it in any way. It is really race fixing, as we've seen in the recent Saudi Arabian GP from 2023, where there's an investigation into the FIA president and vice president for, again, potentially interfering with a race result for Fernando Alonso. Seems like Fernando Alonso is always at the forefront of these dramas. Now, for me, did Singapore cost Felipe Massa the championship? The answer to me is no. You may disagree, people may disagree, but for me the answer is no. After Singapore, there was still a whole host of races. Had something had happened to Singapore, everybody else on the grid would have shaped up for different races differently. There's a lot of context that would have changed for the races and the future races and things like that. Lewis Hamilton may have done more at different races. Felipe Massa may have done less at other races. But Felipe Massa having a bad pit stop that day and falling to the back of the grid and eventually not scoring points isn't what cost him the championship. That isn't as a result of the crash. They had a bodged pit stop. Yes, I believe it was during the safety car period, but a bodged pit stop can happen anytime at any track, and it's not as a direct result of the crash. Him not getting points at Singapore was probably a result of the crash, because Singapore is a hard place to overtake and things like that, but he was in one of the better cars on the grid, so you have to find a way. World champions find a way. Lewis Hamilton also suffered as a result of the safety car. He may have potentially won the race if it wasn't for the crash. Felipe Massa may have won the race, but it's all may haves, would haves, would this have happened, would that have happened. There's no concrete facts. Now, in the races after the fact, Felipe Massa, if he'd have won that race, would it have changed his approach into the other races? Maybe so. Would he have felt more comfortable in the championship? Maybe so. But at the end of the day, you have to deal with the circumstances in front of you. And what happened to Felipe Massa in 2008. For me, it wasn't a miscarriage of justice. If anything, what should happen is Renault should be disqualified from the event. But at this point in time, disqualifying Renault from that event doesn't give Massa the championship. Therefore, what is he suing for? What is he attempting to get? Now, for me, it looks like a ploy at relevancy, because if you look at the bigger picture, Lewis Hamilton has more of a claim for 2021 than Massa does for 2008. Lewis Hamilton was the winner of 2021 until the last lap, where Michael Masi, who does know the regulations, changed them on the fly to suit Red Bull Racing and Max Verstappen. Now, it's not Max's fault, just like 2008 isn't Lewis's fault, but Max would be the one who suffered at the end of it. And as many people agree, it wasn't Max Verstappen's fault. He shouldn't be punished. He shouldn't lose the championship. He didn't do it. It wasn't his fault. So why is the situation not the same for Lewis Hamilton? Many people seem to agree that Lewis Hamilton should be punished and should lose his championship. But what role did Lewis Hamilton play in Spygate? None. So should Lewis Hamilton be punished and lose his championship? No. Did Spygate have a direct influence on the championship end result? It did have an influence. Of course it did. But did it influence the title winner? In my opinion, no. And in many people's opinion, the answer is still no. Because at the end of the day, despite Felipe Massa believing that he was robbed, believing it was an injustice, disqualifying the culprits of the regulation breach, claiming money off Bernie Ecclestone and Formula One, that doesn't determine that you'd have still won the championship. After Singapore, there were still 3 races to go in the Formula One championship. Now, if Lewis had won the title in Singapore, you could have potentially argued that it had an impact on him winning the title. But Lewis didn't win until Brazil, the final race of the season. Massa had done everything he could. Lewis did everything he could. But did Massa deserve the championship? Many things happened during that 2008 season, and for me, I don't think Massa deserved it. As much as I think there was a 1-point gap in the end, Massa did what he could, was a brilliant driver throughout the season, but there was many things which led to Lewis Hamilton being the champion. Singapore was not the only thing which got Lewis Hamilton the championship, and Lewis Hamilton had no play in what happened in Singapore. So trying to remove a championship from Lewis Hamilton and claim compensation ultimately would be regarding that Lewis Hamilton doesn't deserve that championship, and by every means he does. Now, lots of people may disagree, but for me, I think Massa is just off the rails with this. He said a few years ago that he wasn't bothered about it anymore, and then the year after he comes out claiming lawsuits and all on Formula One in the FIA. So let me know down in the comments your thoughts. Do you think Massa's going to win this case, or do you think it's just going to go round and round in circles? I think he's been trying now for over a year and he's not got any backing really. Bernie Ecclestone's rejected all his claims of what he's said and things like that. So I think we're going to be in a bit of a sticky situation with Felipe Massa. If he does end up winning out of it, I think we'll quite quickly see Lewis Hamilton put something in for 2021. But we'll see what happens with that. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Hit that subscribe button while you're down there. Like the video and share it with all your friends. And I'll catch you in the next video. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula One and football weekend.